What is going on? Good morning, guys. Welcome to our morning wake up and chill. Today, we're going to start the day off strong with some weekly pick'ems. Last week, I didn't do one last week. I totally forgot to do it. But I do a weekly pick 'em pool at the neighborhood pub that I have because I have these like pay $10 or whatever, and then you could have a chance to win the pool. I didn't do the greatest. Some people went perfect in this week's pool. Sometimes I don't understand how people can be absolutely right on week one. But you know what? Shout out to the guys down in Sarnia, Ontario. These guys know. I don't know. These guys are just, I don't know, whatever it is. But I ended up getting 10 picks right out of all the games. So not too bad, not great by my historic standards. But this time we're not going to forget this week, and we are going to get some weekly pick'ems in. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the Purple and Gold Bars podcast. Good gravy. Sometimes I can't speak. Lefty, what is up, my dude? Ooh, it's been a rough day. Well, it's been a rough night. I've been cursing the world. A lot of rough stuff in the world. But anyways, we're gonna keep moving forward. And this morning, this wake up and chill, I'm gonna take some time. We're gonna go over some games. Lefty, how did you do last week with do you play a pick'em? But let me get the games up here. Again, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be going live multiple times each day, giving you guys a different segment, some different thoughts, some different rants, giving you some unique color commentary with a different perspective than you're going to see from just about anyone, because I have no idea. I don't know anybody that thinks like me. So that's why we're going to try to capitalize on my unique outside of the box thinking. But the cool thing about it is I tend to be right sometimes. I see you, Bears. But you know what? I try to base my guesses on probabilities instead of possibilities. You know what? Last week, it was definitely possible that those Chicago Bears came out like a well-oiled machine. You know, their defense was, playing like the 85 Bears. Their offense was humming, and, they were flawless. It was possible for that to happen. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to deny it. There is a world, if you believe in the multiverse, that probably happened. But thank goodness we live in the real world, in this world, and it was not probable. I thought it was more probable that the Vikings would do what they always do. They're resilient. They don't give up. They have such chemistry and a bond that helps them push through adversity. It didn't play out like I thought it was, but the things that I thought were going to be the massive factors were. So based on that judgment and that thinking, we're going to go and make some of these picks. So let's start with Thursday night football. And the Commanders are at Green Bay. Now, it's no secret. I did a preview that I think that at best, or give or take a win, I think the Packers are easily a 10-win team, where I think the Commanders are more closer to an 11 or a 12-win team, just based on what they've done, the consistency, and how they performed in week one. When you see teams of that caliber with those types of expectations, when they face a team that's supposed to be bottom of the barrel and is supposed to be learning and kind of growing, that team should be able to handle that team and put them away. And that's exactly what they did. On top of that, it was a division rival, which those games sometimes can go sideways. We've all been Vikings fans when we've had not the greatest rosters and had, very few wins in the season, and we still go into Detroit or into Green Bay or into Chicago and give them a run for their money, and sometimes even steal some wins in losing seasons. Every division sees this every year. So very nice performance by the Commanders. Jaden Daniels. It's no secret. I am basically sold on him. Um, I am going to give him the still the time frame that I usually give young guys to kind of prove me wrong, usually like 3-4 years. So like we're still within that infancy, but I love what he does. His work ethic is tremendous. His team buys into him. They picked up Debo Samuels. That was an immediate impact. He's a solid playmaker. They have a lot of good things, and they're becoming more and more consistent. A great all-around football team, and I'm excited to see what they do over the next couple of years. The Packers, they're a strong team. The Packers are, I feel like they're in that struggle in the trenches, similar to where the Vikings have been, right? Last year in my NFC North prediction, I mentioned that I feel like the Packers and the Vikings at that time going into last year, we were basically the same team. We had a lot of raw potential, good talent on the roster, as well as perceived good coaching, as well as stability. Because how many years are the Packers now with Coach LaFleur, and how much growing have they've done? Right. So, all in all, we're very similar. It kind of echoes what I've said about the Vikings. And the key distinction was I thought that we were just a step ahead. Our consistency was going to be the key factor, because year to year, from year one from KOC, I started seeing those unforced errors, those things that used to irk me so bad about KOC's play calling. I used to say this all the time. I remember it. I used to say, man, I fucking hate it when KOC gets that fucking smirk in his eye, and you can tell he just wants to run some sort of gimmicky or flashy, like other level 4D chess play that, like, you know what I mean? But he tries to force it. And it's so obvious that what's about to happen, that the defense isn't really caught off guard. And as a result, we it costs us drives, it costs us momentum. It was like young uh head coach rookie mistakes, bravado, ego, whatever it was. But over the years, his play calling, his game planning, his situational awareness has gotten much better, right? So where I feel like the Vikings have taken a step forward, I feel like the Packers are still very much in the same spot. I still have to see a lot more from Jordan Love from before I even start crowning him a Super Bowl caliber quarterback or anything like that. But yeah, I think there's a long ways to go in his decision making, because it's not a coincidence. It's not just a dumb mistake in the moment. If it consistently happens where he is in a losing effort, he starts gunslinging and he throws up prayers off the back foot into double, triple coverage. And the worst part about it, it's come up against some of the worst teams uh, of that current season. Like 2 years ago, it was the Raiders, when it was like incredibly embarrassing. And they go and lose to the Broncos when they're the upstart Broncos, and they still have a lot to prove, and they were still kind of like really stuck in the mud. All these games, and then last year, right? We know, because we saw as Vikings fans, that play that he made in the fourth quarter, where he threw up that prayer and ended the game. So those kind of decision making mistakes are the thing that keep me from totally being convinced that the Packers are there and ready to be a significant threat. It's ridiculous to me. Everybody in the mainstream, oh, the odds for the Packers to win the Super Bowl. Are you fucking kidding me? You know how many times I've seen the odds for the Packers to win the Super Bowl, for them to get eliminated in the first round? Like, bro, how many times I've seen that statement, and then they go into, I don't know, San Fran, wherever, and they just get eliminated in the title game. Like they just don't have the whole totality of the team, where as the Vikings. We don't have it totally just yet. I think that's going to be a lot of the movement that we're going to move forward and gain this season and be even more closer to that. Um, but we are much closer to that than them. So that's why, you know what I mean? When we look at the totality, and I want to look at this more first on the basic um football math equation. I think the Washington Commanders have a slight edge over the Packers. So if I were just to go off strength of roster, coaching, all these things, young talent, um, I think the Commanders have that slight edge because they have Jaden Daniels at quarterback. He's a dynamic playmaker that makes things happen. And in 1 year, he has proven to be more reliable, more spectacular, much more of a gifted playmaker than Jordan Love is. And I would not be surprised if this game is a stalemate and a draw and it's like 10 to 10, 20 to 20 for the entire game. And at the very end, on the last possession or the last quarter, Jaden Daniels comes alive and we see him do the things that he was so consistent at last year. And I think that comes from his preparation. That's why I think the slight edge when it comes to that leads to the Commanders. When we start looking at the real world kind of situations, evidence that we saw from last week, the Packers had a strong game against a team that a lot of people are going to give a lot more credit than I am. I honestly feel that the Lions, I think they'll be lucky to win 10 games this year. That's why I predicted them to have 8 games. So as the season progresses, we may not see this win against the Lions as such an incredible feat. So I think this game, if the Packers can win this game, I'm gonna be quite impressed, to tell you the truth. So, but we've got some injuries, and we got some questionable play plaguing the Packers. We have some week 1 issues that have been brought to light as well with the Commanders. But regardless to say, I'm going to give the Commanders the nod on this one. I think um it's going to be it's going to be an awesome Thursday night game. I'm really hesitant to give like specific predictions on how I think the game's going to play out, because one of my bold predictions or one of my intuitions this year was that I feel like we're going to envision or we're going to calculate a lot of things and how things are supposed to play out. And although the end result is going to be something something close to what we predict, the way that we get there is going to be completely different. So if I say it's going to be a tight, knuckle dragon game and there's going to be whatever, I bet you it's going to be a blowout and it's going to be like so one dimensional. Or if I say it's going to be so one dimensional, these Commanders are going to go in there and embarrass it, and then it's going to be a tough, scrappy game. It might be full of penalties. It might be full of spectacular play after spectacular play. But regardless of how it actually plays out, the strengths that the Commanders possess and my belief in Jaden Daniels over Jordan Love are the reason why I'm going to pick the Commanders. And I think it's going to be, regardless of which team wins, it's going to be a 10-point win. It's going to be, I just don't know why. That's just kind of my gut intuition. So that's what I'm putting down. Commanders by 10 on Thursday Night Football tonight. I hope you guys are pumped for Thursday Night Football. I think I might go live on that one. I hate going most of the time live with video up, just because I just I don't want I get so nonchalant. I play video games um when I watch the Vikings games, because I'm so confident and calm and cold when it comes to my belief in what this team is capable of. So I don't want me just looking like disinterested or just kind of like not paying attention as a sign that I'm like, oh, I give up on my team. So I usually just freaking throw my voice out and give my comments and as I go, as I hear them in my brain. So that's what we got. Commanders over Packers by 10. The rest of these games, we got a divisional rival matchup coming up here against the Browns at Baltimore. Baltimore is fuming right now. The Browns are fuming right now. Did you guys see this stat? The Browns what was it? The Browns held the Bengals to some ridiculously low stat in the second half. I forget if it was yards or points or completions or something ridiculous. And when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way. And I double checked it. I was like, whoa, that's insane that they were so defensively on point in the second half. And they still couldn't bust out that win. So same old Browns when it comes to that, the same dumpster fire that nobody seems to be able to put to bed or put out is still raging in Cleveland, despite of the talent that they have on defense. This might be the revenge game. The Joe Flacco returning to the Baltimore Ravens, like what, 15 years removed. But there is no avenue that I could reliably predict with certainty that's anything outside of a possibility for the Browns, right? Outside of being like, oh man, Lamar Jackson is going down in the first quarter and Derrick Henry is going down in the second quarter and the backup's going to throw like 4 interceptions. Like outside of something so improbable, like I can't think of any advantages or any way that these Browns can win this game outside of total collapse from the Ravens, which is you'd honestly have to have 2 brain cells if you're going to think that the Ravens are going to have such a terrible team. Even though it's a divisional opponent, even though I just said divisional opponents earlier in the stream that divisional games are that difficult sometimes to predict and they come out pretty crazy. The strength of roster, the quality of talent. They don't have generational talents on the Browns. Let's be real. As good as Myles Garrett and whoever you want to throw up there as their best talents on the Browns, they just don't have 10% of what Lamar Jackson brings to generational talent on that team. And then you add in Derrick Henry, you add in I'm blanking. Mark Andrews or their other young tight end that's looking to be quite promising. It's just too much. Their coaching staff does such a good job of game planning and building plays to Lamar's strengths that it's been so long since we've seen consistently the deficiencies in Lamar Jackson's game because his offensive coordinators have gotten so much better at designing plays to his strengths and avoiding his weaknesses. And he is so dynamic, right? So there's no way I'm betting against Lamar against the Browns here. So give me the Ravens. That's a long-winded explanation, but I think the Ravens deserve that kind of time and effort when it comes to their pick, even if they are going against one of the worst teams in the league. Following up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in to Cincinnati. 1-0 Bengals, 1-0 Jaggers. Jaguars. Someone's losing they're undefeated. They're 0. Someone is losing their goose egg. Oh man. Ooh, man. If I were to look at the pre-draft analysis of Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, I'd have to say, man, this game is going to be lights out and it's going to be a historic game, an all-time classic. But we can't go by that since we're this far removed from the respective drafts, and so much has happened since then. Joe Burrow is definitely a class above Trevor Lawrence. He has definitely struggled to find his way. Is it a thing of how many different coordinators this poor young man has had to deal with, different schemes, different playbooks to learn to adapt, and different philosophies that stunted his development? Or has it been his development that has caused things to go so bad that the coaching staff keeps getting fired? He's just not good enough to keep a consent. I don't know what it is, but this game is not the game that we would have been super excited to see a few years back. With all that being said, you know what I mean? Like the Bengals have some organizational issues. They got like, cheap ownership, and they definitely don't provide the most to the team to help build a solid roster. So there is that kind of that. So there's a little, there always might be a little bit of a weakness, a vulnerability to the Bengals, which may have been why they gotten so many times last year, right? But with all that being said, I still think the Bengals have a slight advantage here. They have home field advantage. The Jaguars are coming in. Ohio is definitely. My sister lives in Ohio, so I've been in Ohio. Ohio, the people are super friendly, but they love their sports, and that crowd is going to be loud, right? And this year is very crucial for Trevor Lawrence and those Jaguars because they really need to start off strong. They need to minimize a ton of errors because they need that confidence to build on in order to ride that into hopefully that next level of Trevor Lawrence. Now it's going to be hard for him and them, right? With that noise, I foresee some false starts, stuff like that. These little things, and with a sharpshooter like Joe Burrow, man, you give him a short field, you give him extra possessions, he's going to make you pay. I think that as a result, this might end up turning into more of a shootout than people are going to give credit. I agree, Lefty. I think it might be a bit of a shootout, and I think the Bengals come away with it just because Joe Burrow is that guy when it comes to shootouts. It's one of those guys that are like, if you wanted to 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 have a guy that's just willing to go all out, regardless of what the score is, that's your man. Talented, but yeah. So I think he takes the edge here. New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. This one's hard for me because the Giants got me last week too. Because I have a soft spot for the Giants, and I kind of see a little bit of our I kind of see a little bit of the Minnesota Vikings in the Giants. For when I mean is when we were in those early stages of, we were getting some younger pieces, and we were like 2-3 years away, and it was like, man, if this raw talent can come together, if this coaching staff can build this culture and consistency, they might have something, man. Malik Neighbors is special. Dexter Lawrence, right? They got a great what's the guy on their O line? I think it's Andrews. He's really freaking good, right? So there's a lot of guys on that team that show tremendous potential. Cam Scatterbo, man, that boy runs hard. That clip that's been going around where he just trucks three guys in a row, it was only like a 3 or 4 yard play, but man, that boy runs angry, and that's the way I like running backs to run. But then we got the Dallas Cowboys, a perpetual garbage team that's always hyped up as America's team and is better than they are. And the facade is no longer able to stand on its own two legs. Like a couple years ago, right? You could say, oh, you know what, maybe, you know what, they might have something, Zeke, Dax, kind of, looking like, you know, Bryant. Oh, there's so many players that have, they got their defensive talents, their offensive line talents. There's been times where, like, man, that mirage that they put up, America's team, they got all this talent. They're on their way to the Super Bowl. It only hid the dumpster fire that was burning that Jerry Jones just continues to stoke the flames of. I've never seen, bro. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the Cowboys. Micah Parsons, I respect the player. I'm in awe of his ability, but I'm not like, bro, you know what I mean? But as an owner, when you have that type of player in your building and you play games like this, you don't deserve a freaking NFL organization. You are doing a disservice to your fans, to your players, to your coaching staff. And that's I'm just I could rant forever when it comes to Jerry Jones and the idiot that he is, but just to fucking sell tickets, man, and just man, sometimes you should think of your fans more than making money, Mr. Jerry Jones. But let's come down to this game. Both teams are mired in controversy and possible crashing out to come in the future weeks, especially after their week one losses to divisional opponents. But there is more new on the Cowboys than there are on the Giants. That's like I'm grasping at straws to find reasons to pick one over the other when it comes to this game. These are the type of picks that when I'm at the bar, I'm going to go to the bar and fill out my sheet later today before the game, probably like 10 minutes before the game, like I always do. But these are the type of games that I just skip. But we're not going to skip. We're going to freaking force ourselves to come to a distinct choice, a decision here. Fuck, man. Oh man, it's gonna. I don't care because I believe in this team and I think they're going to turn the heads. And although they may not be coming away with a 14-win season or maybe not even a 10-win season, I think overall, when we look at the highlights, when we look at the wins that they do get in the potential that we see out of those glimpses, I think people are going to be turning their heads and it might start this week. That's why I'm picking the Giants to win at the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys look their home field advantage might play a small factor, but I don't think it's going to play that much of a factor. They're going to make so many more mistakes that'll kind of level it out. So many flags are going to be thrown. So we're going to go with it. We're going to go with the Giants. And now we got the game that's going to be giving and giving and giving for the rest of the season for us Minnesota Vikings fans. Not only because of the clips that we're going to get to farm, not only because of all the agonizing looks that we're going to see almost on every single play, because whenever one team makes a play, the other team's going to look devastated and vice versa. And we don't like these bums. These guys get a little bit, these little brothers, they always get a little bit too ahead of themselves, which is why they're in the situation that they're in right now. What is going to happen in the Ben Johnson revenge game? Inquiring minds want to know, Supreme. Purple Bars, tell me, because you seem to know it all. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this game is going to be fun for the football fan. I don't think it's going to be very fun for both teams. I I I don't. It's not a big secret. I've been saying it in every comment, every freaking chat, every video that I can. I think that it's more likely, it's more probable that we're going to find out after this season ends that as of right now, neither the Bears or Ben Johnson are anything without each other, right? The Bears are going to, Ben Johnson's going to have to figure things out on his own, hire some guys like the guy that freaking was in his ear in Detroit telling him when to fucking call timeouts, when not to freaking throw challenge flags, when to go for it on fourth. Did he leave that guy in Detroit? Is that why he was so inept making these rookie coaching mistakes? Or is it the fact that he's going to be in a little bit over his head for a little bit of time before he kind of figures it out and starts running or walking and then running on his own, which is going to be very similar to what this Detroit Lions team is going to experience this year. Like I said, I'll be lucky. It'll be lucky if they win 10, if the Lions win 10 games. That's why I have them coming in with 8 wins this season. They have a talented roster yet, but as we saw um, on Monday night, just an example from the Bears, there were an enormous amount of penalties, careless mistakes, and there is no amount of preseason preparation or chemistry that can be built that is going to automatically erase all those growing pains. I I know it as a Minnesota Vikings fan. For the last 3 years, that has been one of my biggest gripes. 3 years ago when Kirk took us to the playoffs, 13 wins and got embarrassed by the Giants, that season we won like 4 or 5 or 6 games in the first half of the season that we had no business winning because of how many flags we gave up, how many false starts, how many drives we gave up momentum in the possibility to tie it up earlier. We kept shooting ourselves in the foot. We just got lucky and won. That's what we're going to see a lot of in this Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears game. It's going to be a weird, depressing game for those two fan bases because you're going to start realizing how much work is needed for them to reach the same level of, for the Bears, for the Lions, the level of dominance that they had even just 1 year ago, and for the Bears, it's going to that's going to really humble them and make them understand that they are still 1, 2, maybe even 3 years away from being able to expect the things that they expect. But I have been in Ford Field, and that stadium gets freaking loud. That's going to play a big factor. As a result, it's going to be, I feel like the Bears are going to just make that a little bit more mistakes than the Lions will. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any standards. I think it's just going to be a classic freaking drag them, knock them out freaking football game. Give me the Lions taking the win by 4. I don't know. It could be 17, could be 20 point. I don't know. It's going to be a rough game and it's going to be fun to watch from us Packers and Vikings fans. So enjoy, guys. Let's move on to the Dolphins and the Patriots. Now, it's no joke or no lie or secret that I have put down as my dark horse uh, head coach of the year is going to be Mike Vrabel. I think he's going to be doing a lot of things. I think he's going to be changing a lot. I don't think they're going to be just immediately turn into like a playoff team or anything, but I think the changes in like the visual changes in the way that the team acts, the way that they perform, the way that they just conduct themselves week to week is going to show tremendous improvement. And we're going to see some growth that is going to earn him the head coach of the year. The Patriots got a lot of talent. When young talent, unrefined talent, Dolphins are stagnating. Tyreek Hill, there's rumors. Is he going to be going back to the Chiefs? I don't know. It's not a probability, but going into the season, I thought maybe Tyreek might regress a little bit. You know, like you can only be a cheetah for so long before Father Time starts taking away some of that speed. And last year he wasn't as dynamic as he could be. You know, things that were the gimmicks and stuff that were working for them didn't really work. So let's see how they bounce back. McDaniels is a good football mind. Maybe he can kind of bring it down to the fundamentals and maybe come play some more standard straight up football. But I'm going to lean, even though it's going to be in Miami, I'm going to give the slight edge to these Patriots, even though this is a 50-50. It could go either way. I don't know. I honestly have no clue, but I have to go with my heart on this one because I can't, it's just, this is as bad as the freaking, trying to come up with reasons to decide to go for the Cowboys or the Giants, right? Or even give one fucking good thing to say or one reason to why the Browns were going to win this week against the Ravens. But struggling for both sides, but my heart, my gut, my intuition uh, says give me the Patriots in a wild one. Let's just say it's going to be a wild one like we're not going to expect. Then we're moving on to the 49ers versus the Saints. A banged up 49ers team coming into town to the Saints, which didn't look as bad as we expected them to look. Now, not a lot of people are giving Spencer Rattler a lot of credit. I think the young man has shown a lot of poise and maturity, um, based on what he's experienced on the field, and then the comments and the negativity that people have thrown his way is because they just don't believe in the young man. So I have a little bit of a soft spot for them. You know, they still have Alvin Kamara, right? They can be dangerous if they get ahead on you and they start running the ball and Kamara starts doing uh vintage Kamara things. That man can really put the game out of reach, or really make this game very interesting. Um, the things that are holding me back though from choosing the Saints and why I'm going to pick the 49ers in this win, in a convincing win, is the strength of the roster, although they're banged up, um, as well as their coaching staff and their ability to game plan. These are the type of games that Kyle Shanahan wins. He doesn't, these gimmies, he doesn't mess up, you know, and he's going to come up with a great game plan. As injured or banged up as things are, they're gonna be all right, and they're gonna take control early and have his game plan in full effect. That's why give me the 49ers in a convincing win over the Saints, although the Saints aren't going to look terrible. I'll say that much. Then we're moving on to one of the easiest games, the pick of the week, the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets, a divisional opponent. Always these type of games are closer than a lot of people think when it comes to just generally talking about divisional games. They are harder. The book is a lot deeper when it comes to game planning when you are facing an opponent, right? The tendencies are just more well known, but still, give me the Bills. When you have Superman on your side, when you got incredible heart, incredible um chemistry and camaraderie, when you guys got personalities, uplifting personalities like Keon Coleman on your team, the vibe, as the kids like to say, the camaraderie, that family that has been cultivated over the last few years is too strong to bet against right now. That's why give me the Bills in a blowout against the Jets. It doesn't matter how good the Jets looked. I know that they have made some strides and they are going to look better this year. They might start looking more like the Jets that people give, the fan base gives credit to. Um, give me the Bills. Give me the Bills. Yes, thank you, Lefty. Thank you. Yeah, I've been ranting for so long. Thank you for joining me on the Purple and Gold Bars channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be going live multiple times each day, coming up with wild takes, speculation, outside of the box thinking, color commentary. Sometimes my favorite hot take review where we get to laugh at some of the mainstream media. And we do things like our power rankings as well as weekly pick'ems going forward. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's move on. We got the Seahawks at the Steelers. Ooh, this one's going to be a close one, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, is going to be out to prove something. They still have a solid roster. The Steelers have a ironclad coach in Mike Tomlin. That's why I picked the Steelers to win. That it was easy too because they were playing the Jets, but but that doesn't take away from the fact that I do still think that the Steelers are a solid team with a solid defense. It's going to be a difficult game for these Seahawks, but the Seahawks are going to give the Steelers a run for their money. It's going to be a close game, but I almost locked in on the Steelers there for a second, but my intuition, my heart, I don't know what it is. the calculations that are always running in the background of my head um, are just coming up with different things. Maybe they're just kind of JSN is dynamic. Coming off a blunder like that, man, this team is going to be out for blood. I want to say, I really want to say, I don't know why. I feel like I want to say the Seahawks are going to steal this game in a wild one, maybe in overtime, or just in that last play of the game as time runs out, kind of pulling that card on them, because I hate it when clock management is a thing that beats my team. But logic, reason, basic football math leads. It's overwhelming. It's the Steelers when I look at it that way. A strong organization, strong talent, a veteran quarterback. Although Aaron Rodgers at times looked like Aaron Rodgers of old, he definitely looked like old man Rodgers at times too. 4 touchdowns, be damned. I think there's just too much. I'm gonna lock in the Steelers in a squeaker. Seahawks are gonna give them a run for their money. I really want to pick the Seahawks here in a freaking upset. Something there's something tell I don't know what it is that's like, because I watch so much stuff and I read so many freaking articles, and I feel like my subconscious is trying to remind me something, but I'm still going to stick with it, because at the very end of the day, basic football math sometimes is the easiest way to determine some of these really tight, close matchups. And this roster, this organization, this coaching staff is something to bet on. And so I'm going to pick the Steelers. We're gonna settle in on that. Next, we got the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tennessee Titans. And it's funny, I've seen people go saying, you know what? I am ready to give Travis Hunter, right? Is that his name? Travis Hunter. I want to say no, Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's. That's so bad. It's Cam Ward. See, this is what happens when you spend so much freaking time reading articles, freaking just getting into the weeds, watching literally everything you can to try to get as good of a grasp to what each team is doing every year. It's why I get next to no sleep leading up to the season, and just trying to, because I want to give you guys good analysis, or I want to give you guys the best um of what I can possibly come up with, right? So, and I want to, so Cam Ward. So I've been seeing a lot of people saying like I'm ready to give Cam Ward a pass until he gets a new coordinator or a new coach or something like that. So however long that takes, because this is sad to see what's going on in Tennessee. I like the guy. I have a soft spot. I love these type of stories. I'm a hopeless romantic, okay? So I love these underdogs, but I'm not going to pick them here against the Rams. I like Matthew Stafford a lot more. I like Sean McVay a lot more. I think that organization has a lot of consistency and continuity moving forward from last year. The thing that scares me with the Rams, and why it's hard for me to put them very deep or as a contender, is that they have to really avoid the injury bug when it comes to Matt Stafford. He's not as resilient. He doesn't bounce back like he used to. You know what I mean? Like, I know it can be said about every team. Oh no, one bad injury to the quarterback, but like even a mediocre injury to Matt Stafford at his age could linger, and that could have serious effects to the outcome of games during those time stretches. So, like, I feel like if things go bad or even go mediocre, it could be really bad, and they could just end up being a middle of the pack team. But this early in the season, still fully healthy, give me those Rams in a dominant win. Next, we got the Carolina Panthers versus the Arizona Cardinals. Woo-wee! Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison coming or at home defending against Mr. Bryce Young and these Carolina Panthers. Man, it was rough watching Bryce Young because like I said, I like these underdog stories. And at the end of the year, when he started to make some progress and started to look good, it was promising, and I had hopes that this year he would just continue that upward trend. And it was extremely demoralizing to see him play more like the first half of the season before he got benched. So it's sad to see. Yeah, you know what? The Rams didn't look good last week, but they're this. I'm still going to bank on Sean McVay. But when it comes to the Bryce Young, man, I don't know. Can he bounce back? Can he show that resiliency? There's been a lot of times they showed him zoning out on the game on the scoreboard during the game because he's just out of it. Maybe he had just given up. Um, is that a sign of his inability to pull himself out of the gutter and put each play behind him and just keep looking at the forward and what he can do to try to win? That is a trait that's extremely difficult to find. Thank goodness my quarterback has that. Jesus Christ. Fuck, man. Number nine is him. Hashtag number 9 is him. Good gravy. But anyways, it doesn't seem like he has that. I think it's going to be very hard for him to go into an opposing team. The Cardinals are. I actually been to the Cardinals Stadium because I used to frequent Arizona quite a bit. An ex-girlfriend of mine, her family had a house on Portobello Golf Resort, so we spent a lot of time out there. I've been to a couple games. Their facility is awesome. They're loud and proud. And their fans aren't, man, I like the Cardinals fans. They were nice. I was there in Vikings gear and they just did not, they were super nice to me. So that's not going to be playing a factor in my decision here, but I just think that the Cardinals are a little bit ahead in their development than the Panthers are, and I'm it's more probable to see more of the Bryce Young that we saw last week than seeing the Bryce Young that we saw at the end of the year. So give me the Cardinals in a snooze fest. Probably something ridiculously. The starters will get pulled and all that fun stuff, right? But that's the type of game that we're going to see out of those two franchises right now, where they stand, right? But now we come to the game that, going into the season, we didn't know this game might have been a little bit too sour, but it comes to be that these two teams never seem to be sour, always seem to have lemonade when the time gets tough. More so the Broncos. The Colts had some moments. Anthony Richardson had some moments. I will say he did throw out some lemonade, but that era is behind us. Daniel Jones and those Colts look like world beaters in week 1. But we got year 2 of the Sean Payton experience. We got another year of consistency to build on. Bo Nix started off a little bit rough, but good teams find ways to win in those situations, and that's what they did. Regardless of the opponent, regardless of what the situation is, we always expect teams to pull it out when they're struggling. How many times have we seen Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs struggle and come back and win in the last play of the game, or turn it on and really do something in the second half after being anemic for a good variety of the game? We've seen Tom Brady have those type of games where it's just like things didn't kind of click until late in the game. This has been true of every great team of all time. So I give a lot of credit to the Broncos. One of my bold predictions, I think that they're going to be a top 2 defense in the league, right there with the Minnesota Vikings. I said the Minnesota Vikings and the Denver Broncos are going to be a top 2 defense, 1 and 2. I don't know where they're going to fall, but I feel like these two defenses have the most potential this year to make that a reality. And because of that, I'm going to pick the Broncos. I feel like Sean Payton is going to be a little bit more on page. He's going to be having a little bit more of these strategies or things that kind of throw these Colts off where they weren't seeing any of that last week. So the Colts will be in a valiant effort. I feel like it's not going to be a dumpster fire either, but I feel like it's going to be a convincing win by these Broncos, uh, a defensive win for the Broncos. Bo Nix will do good though. Eagles versus Chiefs. Oh, we got a barn burner at 4:25. This should have been the freaking night game. Let's be real. As much of a Vikings fan as I am, I know this is the Kirk Cousins revenge thing. I know the freaking schedule makers, have been kind of doing this to teams, right? Like last year, they made Kirk come to US Bank Stadium, right? But Eagles, Chiefs, bro, like, come on, this should have been the Sunday night game. We'll take it though. But we got the incredibly talented Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts with a generational running back by his side, AJ Brown, solid defense, tush push. What more can be said about this solid team, the Philadelphia Eagles? And a lot of the same thing can be said about these Chiefs, and the things that the Chiefs that have been said about the Chiefs over the last few years have been true. They are the modern dynasty. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Travis Kelce. They have wily vets. They have Spags. They have Andy Reid. The important things to bank on are still there to bet on. But you know what? These are two juggernauts going head to head. Are we going to see a conspiracy game? Are we going to see the conspiracy theories coming out in the fourth quarter? What's up with all these flags that the Chiefs always got? They're allowing them to get back in the game. We were dominating. Is it going to be one of those games, or is it going to be one of those games where the Eagles just run away with it and they just don't look back? I don't know. It's going to be this one is one of those games that's going to be true to my theory that this season is going to play out like we think, but it's going to be opposite or in ways that we have no ways of imagining that it's going to turn out. The outcome will be the same, but the way that we get there is going to be one hell of a roller coaster and a ride. That's why, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I love running back, so I really want to pick the Eagles here. They're at Arrowhead. That stadium is loud. That home field advantage, which usually would be something that I would give credit to, that usually only works against lesser teams. Good teams are able to handle that adversity, to fight through the loudness, to have silent counts ready, to do all the things that they need to do because they are a good team. Good teams have built their way up to be able to handle those things because that is something that you have to have in your repertoire. So that's not an advantage. The rosters are talented. You can argue that the Eagles have a more talented roster. I'll give you that. Andy Reid, I got to give the coaching to Andy Reid over Nick Sirianni. The defensive coordinators and coaching staff, I got to give that to Spags. He's been unique. He's been a lock that a lot of people have not been able to crack for years now. It's the reason why he stands alone as a defensive coordinator that's just on his own level, right? So, man, this is really hard. This is a really hard one to pick. I think my love for running backs is really getting me here because I feel like they could really run but the creativity, the innovation, the things, the bag that the Kansas City Chiefs have is so goddamn deep that it can overwhelm even some of the best rosters in the league, and it has done so time and time again. Man, they almost three-peated, for God's sakes. I'm really struggling at being able to find a true advantage either team has over each other. Like a significant advantage. I know there's minor advantages all over the field and all over different positions. I'm not naive to that, but I'm talking about like substantial advantage. Like, is Patrick Mahomes today at this stage in his career that much better than Jalen Hurts? Or are they roughly the same, give or take? Isaiah Pacheco is definitely not the running back. Maybe that's their advantage. Only thing that but Isaiah Pacheco's no slouch. He's a freaking above average running back. But he has been injured. And sometimes he can be non existent. Man, last week, right when we thought, or right when I thought, here comes the Chiefs, this is when they take it away, the Chargers slam the door shut on them. Is this the year that the Chiefs are more beatable? Man, this is a hard decision. I'm going to go. I'm not going to go with any cliches, or I'm not going to go any superstitious stuff. I'm just going to go based on the probabilities on this one here. Who is most probable to execute their game plan? Last week, both teams struggles in different ways at times. The Eagles struggled against a freaking dumpster fire, while the Chiefs lost and got figured out by a heck of a coach and an up and coming no brainer type team. I think that's what I'm going to bank on right here. I think that just because of they maybe it's just, call it rust, maybe it's just whatever it is, they might still have enough of it where they may not be able to adjust to the game plan. Um, and the Chiefs are a much better team than the Cowboys. So if the Chiefs get on their plan and the Eagles can't stop it and get onto their own thing, I think they're going to have a harder time. I think just because of that, I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs in a freaking 3-point win. Although it could be a 3-point win for the Eagles. Let's be fucking real. All right, let's move on to the game of the week. The Atlanta Falcons versus the Minnesota Vikings. Old Captain Kirk is riding the pine. He's still with them, right? Or did he get released? No, he's still with them, right? He's still their backup. He's still riding the pine. Well, old Kirk Cousins rides the pine. Coming into US Bank Stadium for another humiliating loss. Last year, he and the Falcons came in, and home field advantage definitely played a massive factor in that early part of the game. There was a lot of careless mistakes, a lot of flags. It's just so freaking loud. And coming off of that week 1 win after our franchise being told all year that we're not as good as we are and we were where we were loud and proud. That game is going to be extremely difficult for this young quarterback, this offensive coaching staff, to reel it in and be efficient and as mistake free as they need to be to beat us. Is it possible that they could be next to perfect and let none of that affect them? Yeah. Is it probable? Absolutely not. We've seen better teams More talented quarterbacks, more established quarterbacks wilt under the pressure. Last year in game 3, after upsetting the Giants and then the 49ers, US Bank Stadium was ridiculously loud for CJ Stroud and the Texans and all the hype that was coming in on that game. Everybody was parroting, "Oh, CJ Stroud so amazing against the blitz. It's going to be an easy game for the man." But at the end of the day, we saw what happened. That blender was way too much for that team. That so many penalties in the beginning of the game. They were just so out of sync. It was a beautiful thing to say. That home field advantage last year, articles were written about how good of a home field advantage we had. I think that's going to play a massive factor early in the game, giving these Minnesota Vikings a lot of opportunities, a lot of extra drives in order to get things rolling, hopefully a lot sooner. I am not gonna. I'm gonna humble myself because last week I thought the Vikings were gonna be a run heavy team and we're gonna have a specific game plan. Essentially, what we saw in the fourth quarter, I expected that type of play calling and that type of play the entire game, but we didn't see that. And I realized in that game that KOC is a mad scientist, and the things that he's doing have a reason, have a purpose, and the outcome has been good more times than not. I don't know how fast JJ McCarthy is going to light up this game. I don't know if he's going to struggle tremendously. I just know that we have a far better roster than the Falcons. We have better coaches. We're more prepared. We're going to have a hell of a lot less mistakes in the form of penalties. We're going to have a lot less mistakes when it comes to miscommunication. All those things that the Falcons are going to struggle with all game. It's going to be hard for defensive backs to do anything when it's just so loud. The things that are gonna make the biggest factor is that home field advantage and the strength of roster, being able to again believe in JJ McCarthy, be there for him, support him as he continues to progress and develop into a comfortable starting franchise quarterback. He is already, and let's be real. But give me the Vikings easily winning by 2 scores. I'm going to say they're going to win easily by 14. The Falcons, as good of a team as much as I saw from good things from Michael Penix, man. Last week he threw almost for 300 yards. Let's give the man credit. He did very, very well and very, very good in that start. But their run game was anemic. They put up, Tyler Algier put up 10 carries, 10 carries, 2.4 yards per carry. Bijan Robinson had 12 carries for 2 yards per carry. Right? It was rough at times, and that was at home, where all the confidence should be at the highest, where there shouldn't be any crowd noise or things getting in the way. So I think it's going to be a lot harder that people give any credit for these Falcons. I think they think that these Falcons are an up and coming team that show a lot of potential, and they're banking on this. Michael Penix is going to be better than JJ McCarthy, and that's why they're going to hitch their wagon onto that dumpster fire of a pick. That's why we're going to pick the Minnesota Vikings in a blowout against these Falcons. Monday night, we got ourselves a return of the doubleheader. We got the Buccaneers facing the Texans. This is going to be a really good game. This is going to be a barn burner. I feel like neither team is going to look like the team that they were last week. I think both teams are going to look more like how we envisioned them to look like this year. CJ Stroud's going to look amazing. Baker Mayfield is going to look amazing. We're going to see the classic heroics, late game antics where he starts coming alive late in the game. We're going to see some dynamic defensive play. We're going to see some great throws out of CJ Stroud. This one's going to be a close one, but give me the Texans to win by 3. It's going to be a close one. I'm going to stick my neck out here for Ruben and those Texans, and I'm going to say they're going to upset Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. Even though I am a Baker Mayfield fan and I really like to root for him. I I think there's going to be a lot more consistency out of the Texans over the Buccaneers, especially early. I think the Buccaneers will recover from the from the home field advantage early. I don't think it's going to linger in into the first half. They're going to get into the swing, and it's not going to matter to them how loud it is in there. But that's small window in that first quarter where they may lose a drive or two. As a result, I think that'll be enough of a window for the Texans to capitalize and take that win. And then last but not least, we have the Chicago Chargers. Why did I say the Chicago Chargers? Later, Purple Jesus. I'll catch you later, Lefty. Let's go. Yeah, we're gonna be in the house too, so I'm gonna be loud as fuck in Minnesota. So it's gonna be a hell of a home field advantage. I'm gonna witness that. So I expect to win in my on my trip this weekend. But let's get back to these Chargers versus these Raiders. I think this is a little bit more of an intriguing game that people are going to give any credit to. I think the Raiders are going to be a much better team than they are. I think they're still going to be a fringe playoff team that has the ability to kind of win at the right times in order to squeak themselves into the playoffs. I think they're still a team that there are so many deficiencies that once they do make the playoffs, a good playoff team will capitalize on those things, but it's not the playoffs. The Chargers, though, I think are going to be a strong playoff team, starting as early as like not like last year, but like I'm talking about like this year, like strong. Put your money where your mouth is type of playoff team. I think that this year is the year where we kind of see that Jim Harbaugh has done a freaking great job, and I think they're going to take a massive leap in their progress this year. But man, you can't. It's so hard to count Geno Smith out. I remember when he got drafted and he was in New York and how he flamed out and how I literally forgot about him until he got signed by the Seahawks. And I was like, oh, yeah, that draft bust. I wonder where he's been. My gosh. But um, he has been resilient. He has put the work in. His reclamation project has been a success in my book. His footwork, his ability in the pocket, his touch on the ball, his decision making is up there, guys. And as a result, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people will give them credit. But all the dysfunctions of a young team that's just been put together with all the potential, that's going to be the difference makers against these Chargers. These Chargers aren't going to be charging anymore. That era is behind us. Jim Harbaugh has made it a point to weed all that out, and I truly believe that we're not going to be seeing any of that anytime soon. They're going to be consistent. They're not going to make as nearly as many mistakes as these Raiders. I think these Raiders are going to have a lot of these penalties on both sides of these fields. I feel like there's going to be miscommunications of defense where it's going to be like, oh, I thought you had, I thought you had the corner. Oh, this guy bit up on the safety bit up when he should have actually dropped back. There's going to be a lot of these miscommunications, that are going to lead to the Chargers capitalizing. And because Jim Harbaugh is a great coach and he's got the situational awareness down, he's got the clock management down. He's got a great quarterback that can complete and play the system the way that he wants. So I think with all that being said, I think the Chargers still win in a convincing fashion, but I think the Raiders are going to look really, really good. And at times, people are going to be like, "Oh my God, are these Raiders going to pull this out?" Because I think they're that good. I think Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers are the real deal. I think the amount of progress that they made in just 1 year, most teams struggled to accomplish in 3. And I expect the speed at which they progress to slow down, but I still think they're going to be progressing, and I think that Jim Harbaugh is going to be doing a great job of creating that football organization and culture that he's doing a great job of building. So give me those Chargers in a convincing win. And that brings us to the end of the live. Well, not the live, but the picks. So that gives us all the picks. I'll write them down. I'll go back, make sure I have them all, and we'll see how these play out. Hopefully, we picked over 50%. I'd like over 50%, but let's see 80 or 90. And yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out and joining me on the Purple and Goals Bar channel. Thank you so much for hanging out and indulging in this old man's football calculations, you could say. I really hope the best for every team. I don't ever want to see any injuries. I don't want to see teams win or lose like that. I want to see the best out of both teams, regardless of whether they're a bottom feeder or the top team in the league. I just want to see good football, and I want to see historic plays, because that's what's going to get the younger generations hooked on this game and the mainstream casual audience continuing to love football, the game that we all freaking love. Any questions, comments, or concerns before we wrap it up, guys? Woo-wee. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be back later with the keys to victory video or live for our Minnesota Vikings. I will catch you guys later. And I hope you guys are well, and thoughts and prayers to all you guys. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you guys later. Take care.